Hello and welcome back to the Leinster Listen. I'm your host Mick Lenan and this is episode 58, the review of Leinster versus Vodacom Bulls in the URC Grand Final. This episode content today will be the URC match results, the one and only, the overall opinion of the game, the analysis of the game events, and then a discussion point on Leo Cullen to leave Leinster at the end of the 2026-2027 season. Alright folks, as I said, going to go through the match results here. A nice one to start off with, a nice one to end with. Leinster 36, Vodacom Bulls 7. An absolute trashing at Croker, a cracker at Croker, I think I called it before, and it definitely was. Fantastic. Look, I mean, there we have it. Back to back. Hashtag back. Number 2, back. That's what you want. And, you couldn't have got it more poetic. An exact rerun of the URC final last year in the same venue, at the same time, in the same weather conditions. It's just crazy. Look, it was just an absolute onslaught. Mind you, there was 39,000 people there as well, so a huge turnout as well. I was a little bit afraid that the numbers would be a little bit smaller actually, but that is actually a huge number. I know it kind of looked a little bit sparse around parts, but look, you couldn't go wrong with that. 39,000 people in one stadium, fantastic. But yes, look, Leinster back-to-back URC champions, like the first team to do that in this form of the championship. Obviously, we've done that many a time in the previously named championship, but this is the first time that anyone has done it in the URC. And, you know, we deserve it. We absolutely deserve it. Vodacom Bulls, their 4th URC Grand Final defeat in 5 years. They are absolutely reeling, lads. And I feel for them. We've especially know the feeling of having that defeat in the finals. They'd obviously lost 2022, 2024, 2025, and now 2026. They are still searching for their first URC title. It's kind of like, always the bridesmaid, never the bride situation there, unfortunately for them. But as we have it, folks, that is the season over. No more Leinster games, no more URC, no more Champions Cup. Not until we return in the 2026-2027 season. But let's go through the game. Let's talk about it. Well, starting off with my prediction there, I did predict that it would be Leinster 31, Vodacom Bulls 20, and thank God I'm not a betting man because it was not the case. The actual score there being 36-7. Now, if you listen to any of the Bulls folks, they might say that I should have been closer to it, considering they had 2 tries called off after the TMO intervened. But look, honestly, it was an absolute fantastic game. The Bulls never really got going. They couldn't really argue that the referee screwed them over because their first half was just brutal. It was complete déjà vu from last year's, 32. Last year's defeat there, 32-7, same venue obviously as well. But Sam Prendergast ran the show, folks. Tommy Bryan there opening the scores, 22-0 at half time. And then Harry Byrne obviously coming on just to put the cherry on the cake. Fantastic, And then as well as that, halfway through, we had Doris going off. Actually, no, it wasn't even halfway through. It was very early on. You had Doris going off injured. And we thought, oh, here we go. Disaster has spelled. But who only come on but Jack Conan just to settle the whole thing. And he just stepped up seamlessly there. Look, not the result I thought it was going to be, but a much better one than my prediction. So, fantastic. Overall opinion there, look, we were dominant. We were dominant, we were clinical, and we had the exact statement we needed after that defeat in Bilbao. And I'm going to keep saying it because it feels so nice to say it. Back-to-back URC champions. And to do it at Croke Park twice. Oh my God. 5 tries, we kept the Bulls off us the entire first half, nulled them the first half, and, only let them in for 1 actual try. The other 2 got chalked off by the TMO. Let's go into some of the details, the finer details of that game. Well, the scrums. Scrums were solid. Tyg Furlong came back and it mattered. He played a blinder. Jerry Cahir as well went out in a complete high in his last Leinster appearance. We're going to miss him. He had a fantastic game. He actually got a standing ovation as he was walking off the pitch, and he deserves it. But look, Furlong gave us a platform against, 11 Springboks, mind you. He gave us a platform to win that. Bulls never really got their set piece dominance that they needed. They definitely needed to do it. They needed to slow us down, and they just didn't get it. And then once the scoreboard started to run away from them, they were dead in the water at that point. Lineouts there were absolutely fantastic. It had so functional and so well used. Max Deegan just was brilliant in them. Did he even miss one of the catches? I don't think he did. And, there was a clean ball for Gibson Park every single time. Prendergast there to play it off as well. And, the Bulls lineup was actually decent the whole time. They had fairly good strength in it, but they just couldn't generate the maul momentum that they needed to push us back. That, the same kind of one you would have seen against Glasgow there. They just didn't have it. And look, I suppose Moodie going off at 2 minutes in with the yellow card probably would have, rattled their cage a little bit. They probably didn't know. They were probably chasing it at that point. And, they were actually chasing it 12-0 down inside 15 minutes. So they really need to get the primary ball out of those lineouts, and they just weren't getting it. And every time they went down to try to get the mauls going, it was just dead. Stopped exactly where it was and had to play out from that, giving us time to get those defensive lines up. And a nice little segue there into defence. Our defence was ruthless. Our defence in the first half was brilliant, and it counted. And it kind of gave us that stepping stone and that foundation into the second half. Just keep going. Keep on keeping that line. Wrap it up the left side, up the right side. It didn't matter. We were just all over them. Big Joe McCarthy there had a huge turnover on our own line there. With James Lowe in the bin as well. So even the stressful moments, I think we just had it. The lads were in this kind of flow state. The defensive line was, as I said, just so quick, so clinical. Very few missed tackles there as well. They were going up at a rapid rate and actually making those tackles when it really mattered. And it actually did matter as well in terms of handling errors, because every time the Bulls had the ball and it was a tackle made, it was slipping out of their hands. It was popping out of their shoulders, all that kind of thing. It was just dreadful to watch for them. And I would feel for the Safa fans coming over here after spending all that money to watch their team go down the Swanee like that. Look, as I said, we only conceded one score all night. Fair enough, you might say that technically we let them in for 2, but TMO had to come forward and say no, those ones didn't count. One was held up, and another one was a kind of a judge as a forward pass by Moodie. Now, I will say that one I thought was a little bit harsh. So, but let's move on here. Attack. Probably the best we've looked in months. Honestly, it just clicked, and I don't think it's enough now, in fairness, to save the two boys their positions, in my opinion. As I said, the defence there as well, Jacques Nienaber, all the way through the season, I would have said, probably didn't click for us. I think it did this time. But again, we were playing against South African teams. I think that's probably where it actually matters the most. So, yeah, bit strange there. But look, I do think we'll have to think about those positions coming into next season. And as well as that, a little spoiler alert there, obviously coming into this discussion point, but it just got announced today on Monday that Cullen will be leaving at the end of next season. So there'll be talks over the summer as to what that panel is going to look like. He'll probably have to try and get a successor in to kind of train them up into that role. They might end up taking one of those coaching positions. They might take the attack, might take the defence, scrum. All those are up to the RFU and Cullen there, obviously, to set the team up for success into the next season. But as I said, I kind of have to go back here onto the attack. It was so good. Tommy O'Brien there with pouncing on that kind of a very long grubber kick when Grobelar's loose pass went on about the halfway point, and he ran 30 metres up to give himself that first try. So fantastic there. Ioane there as well finished his season with Leinster in style with a fantastic pass out to Keenan where he sidestepped at the very end and was actually tackled by 3 men but just slid over the line. Perfect there as well. Conan as well barreled over there from close range. Prendergast then sniped at the base of a ruck as well. But you see, all those tries just were such a good build up to them. The passing was so clinical. Prendergast was doing those dummy passes non-stop. It really threw the Bulls off. He was soaking in tackles. Everything was so good. And, obviously he got man of the match there and he deserves it. But I think he really did let the game go into a flow state. And as well as that, in part of our attack, we did have one ball that kind of went a loose pass, kicked down the line, and Sam Prendergast actually ran back and put his body on the line to save us there from a potential try for the Bulls. So the attack was absolutely brilliant. And I must say, if we can continue that into next season, we're in the money, lads. Going into some notable players there, and I did mention them a few times already, but Sam Prendergast, man of the match, no argument. Absolutely no argument there. He directed Everton. You could see him. He was like a master of puppets there in the background. When things went wrong, he was screaming in the lads' faces to cop on, get into the game plan, and get things going again. And look, he kicked 13 points as well and scored his own try. So, fantastic game for him. He obviously ran the game at the tempo that Cullen would have wanted, at probably the biggest stage that we've had now, again, this season. And, after a gritty Stormer semi, but a very good Lions game, he needed to show his skills, and he has done so. As well as that, he'd be looking forward to the summer series there, considering that Jack Crowley has been, put as injured for that and he won't be playing. So Sam's going to have to step up into the international scene as well. So fair play to him. But in that game, brilliant. Tommy O'Brien there as well. I tipped him for man of the match as a prediction in my preview episode. He didn't get it, but he's just Tommy O'Brien. He's such a good player. My God, there was a bit of a shock there where he went up for the ball and kind of fell heavy on his ankle, and he was down for a while. And I was thinking, Jesus, here we go. This is what we needed in halfway through this game. And unfortunately, he has actually been named injured for the summer series, so he will not be partaking in those games either. Neither will Doris, so very sad for them. But I think the two Ward brothers are coming up, and they're fantastic, so fair play to them. They should get their chance, and we should be investing in the younger crew as well. But yeah, Tommy O'Brien, my God, set the tone there in the 4th minute, and the Bulls never recovered. So that's what you want. Jack Conan as well came on inside 10 minutes there for injured Cullen Doris, scored our 3rd try, and then just played an absolute blinder for the rest of the game. It was the exact impact you wanted coming off the bench, and you would expect that maybe in the 60th minute, but no, inside the 10 minute, and played the whole game and just played fantastically. Last but not least, I just have to talk about him, right? And he, as I said before, he's one of my most favourite forwards. He's never really picked for the international scene. He's always left when the lads go off to the Six Nations. And if you know who I'm talking about already, you're going to definitely agree that he had a fantastic game, and that is Max Deegan. He was definitely one of the standout performers in the night. Irish Times had him as actually starring alongside Jamie Osborne. So, look, fantastic. He stole a line out there from the Bulls. They stuffed another as well because of his disruption. Fantastic. That's what you want to see. Those lineouts are the game changers. You do not want to give them the possession off that. And Max Deegan just played a blinder there. He nearly had a try of his own there late in the game. Oh my God. Go and watch that clip, because it was so savvy. Out in the wing, last man in the wing. I don't know how we do it, but we always put our forwards out there. Dan Sheehan is just, he's stuck in that wing all the time. But it was a very heavy pass done out, and it was actually supposed to go to Tommy Bryan. I think he missed it. But Max Egan caught it behind him with one hand, spun the ball, regathers it, and brought it forward with him, and actually nearly got through to that line. He's just caught about 5 metres out, but absolutely fantastic. Now, the selection ahead of Conan there raised a lot of eyebrows. I didn't think so. I just knew when he was on that team sheet, we had it, because he's such a good player, and I'm delighted that he actually got a fantastic starting game for that and finished strong as well. So fair play to Max Deegan there. Referee there was Andrea Piardi, Italian referee. As I said before in the preview episode, it's his 4th consecutive URC Grand Final. And look, he actually gave 2 deliberate knock-on yellows against the Bulls, and in fairness, both of them are correct. Moodie and Lowe. Moodie was at the 2nd minute, definite intentional knock-on there as well. And then Willie Lowe, my God, it was the worst attempt at feigning trying to catch it. He had to jump up to knock it. And to be honest, I actually do think it should have been a penalty try as well, because it was going to Tommy Bryan. There was a huge gap in front of him, and we all know Tommy Bryan has the pace and the agility to get over that. So I was a little bit disappointed we didn't get the penalty try there, but 30 seconds later we actually crashed over with Conan, so it didn't matter. Who needs your penalty tries? James Lowe's yellow there came from Piardi as well, obviously kind of the same offence at the 58th minute, and it gave the Bulls a brief window then to try get some scores on the table. But, 2 disallowed Bulls tries as well. Verster held up. The TMO reviewed that and said no try. And then you had Norte chalked off for a forward pass from Moodie there as well. That one, as I said before, I do think was a little bit harsh. The other one, though, definitely held up. I don't think that should have been a try. So, no real complaints there. Andrew Piardi might be a little bit biased considering we trashed the Bulls. But, look, you can't go and blame the ref when you don't score a single point in the first half. Let's be real here. Anyway, it's a busy night for the Bulls there, having to go on the plane and have no internet to give out about them until they go home to South Africa. So, yeah, unfortunately for them, 2 hardships. But in a line, look, we hammered them. 36-7. Croke Park, back-to-back URC champions. Look, we sent Lowe, Ioane, McGrath and Cahir out of this team as champions. Fantastic. Alright folks, going to go through the match events very quickly here. So in the 2nd minute we had a yellow card for Vodacom Bulls, and that was for Moodie. Deliberate knock on, preventing a Leinster line break there, and very much so it was going out to Dan Sheehan, so I think he would have smashed through. 6th minute then we had a try by Leinster. Tommy O'Brien pounced on a loose grubbler pass in the halfway point, hacked it through and sprinted up, regathered it on the bounce and scored under the post there. That was successfully converted by Sam Prendergast, brought to score Leinster 7, Vodacom Bulls 0. 14th minute then, another try for Leinster, and that was Rieko Ioane. Gibson Park, quick line out to the Prendergast. This huge inside ball to Keenan, who ran through, and he broke through a fantastic line break there, and he just fed Ioane on the corner, who actually sidestepped the last defender and then pushed forward, being tackled by three of them, and slid directly over that line. Perfect. The conversion was unfortunately missed. Brought score Leinster 12, Vodacom Bulls 0. 26th minute then, you had another yellow card for Vodacom Bulls, and Willie Lowe, deliberate knock on, as clear as day. It was absolutely crazy. Literally had to jump as high as he could, and the tip of his fingers knocked it on. There's no attempt to even get that, but he knew that if that went to Tommy Bryan, he was through for a try. But anyway, never mind that, because in the 27th minute we did get a try, but it was Jack Conan, so he didn't actually save anything. He just cost his team, him being gone for another 8 minutes after that. Conan there barged over from close range, and he was on for the injured Doris, and that was successfully converted by Sam Prendergast. Brought score to Leinster 19, Vodacom Bulls 0. 32nd minute, penalty for Leinster, Sam Prendergast. He put the slot over as well. Brought score to Leinster 22, Vodacom Bulls 0. 44th minute then, directly after half time, got a try for Leinster again, and none other than Sam Prendergast. Sniped right at the base of the ruck, and it was fantastic actually, because we had penalty advantage, so he might as well have went for it. The Teemo had a little check on it, but it was perfect, so fair play to him there. He also successfully converted his own try there, brought to score Leinster 29, Vodacom Bulls 0. 58th minute then, yellow card for Leinster, and James Lowe, deliberate knock on the other side. Final appearance there, but when he came back on, he got a huge stand ovation again, because it was just funny how first time he came out, stand ovation. When he came back off the yellow card, another stand ovation. 62nd minute then, try for Vodacom Bulls, and that was utilising that time that Lowe was off the pitch. It was finished from the back of a maul, actually one of the very rare ones that they actually did well. We were down to 14 obviously, and that was successfully converted by Andre Pollard. Brought score Leinster 29, Vodacom Bulls 7. 76th minute then, just to finish it off, a try for Leinster, Harry Byrne. He drove over from close range to seal that title right underneath the posts, and then obviously converted his own one, bring the score, and the final time score, Leinster 36, Vodacom Bulls 7. Man of the match there was Sam Prendergast, and he deserved it because he directed tempo from the get-go. Kicked 13 points himself, scored a try himself, and it was a clear difference on the night, that he saved this performance to last, so fully deserved there. Alright folks, discussion point, and it's funny that I didn't get a chance actually to record this episode until Monday, but when I opened my phone there today, and I got a pop-up from the Leinster app saying that Leo Cullen is to leave at the end of the 2026-2027 season, I was shell-shocked. I actually thought that he might get an extension, considering we're back-to-back URC champions. I know a very number of poor defeats there in Europe, obviously, but coming off the back of a largely unbeaten season in terms of individual matches. The finals obviously are the hard points there, but news broke obviously today, 3 days after grand final win. Shocker for me really. I couldn't believe it. But Cullen obviously, look, he confirmed himself. He made a little post there, and he wrote a little bit for a Leinster social media post as well. But when his contract expires at the end of 2026-2027, he will be gone. So he'll see out just the one more season that he has in his contract, and he will intend to honour that contract to the full. And I think, that's fair enough. I'm saddened that he's actually going. I do think the whole Leo Cullen thing, Cullen out, a little bit dramatic, I think, to be honest. And I think if you reshuffle the rest of the coaching, I'm not going to talk about that too much because I've went through that in a few more episodes before, but if you were to reshuffle the other coaches and keep him in, I think his tenure there and his ability to get the games out of the big games out of these folks is very good. But anyway, look, in terms of what Cullen had said, he went on about his timing. He's 12 years as head coach. By 2027, he'll be 32 years since he first represented Leinster at a schools player, mind you. And he said it feels right to move on to a new challenge. So I don't think it's the end of Leo Cullen. I think we're going to see that he's going to move on to somewhere else. And it's an interesting one because you don't know where he'd go now. Consider Andy Farrell has obviously gotten his contract extended now to the international gig until the end of 2028, I think it is. So he's there for the long haul. But look, I suppose it feels right for him as well, and that's what you want. You don't want people staying because they think they have to. And if Leo thinks it's time for him to go, fair play to him for making that decision. He mentioned obviously moving back to the arena next season, and don't forget we actually are back there next season, so can't wait for that. But there's obviously an awful lot of players leaving, a lot of new arrivals coming, and I think the whole debacle with Frawley there, I think that really probably hammered home from that maybe there is a bit of division there in the camp and that it might be his time to go. Shane Nolan actually paid tribute there, saying 7 trophies in 11 years, and then obviously culminating to that Friday win there last week. So fantastic season really in the last 2 seasons. I know Europe is the pain point there, but back-to-back URC champions, that is, it's not nothing. I know Porter was probably wrong coming out and saying, well, you don't see stars for the URC. That's not what we want. We have silverware, we have a trophy again, we've retained it, and that is huge. But look, it's not really a shock. I think he's probably been debating this for a long time. I'd say even just as his contract's getting renewed the last time, people were saying, it was time for him to go. But now obviously announcing it on the back of back-to-back titles is a big moment for the province, and I think we do have to reflect and have a lot of respect for him. He's brought us a lot of good days. Obviously we've had the bad days, but geez, there was a lot of good days there now, and we're going to go through them a bit, but not before going through his time as a player, mind you. So he started off in Blackrock College, then into the Leinster schools in 1995, so 32 years at the club in total when he'll walk away as the coach. His senior debut was the 1998-1999 season, and he had 221 caps for Leinster. So that was actually the province record at the time when he retired, so that is a massive number. Obviously, you'll see, Luke McGrath there has, I think he's over 250 now, it's nearly 260 himself, so, it's huge, that's a long time. He did a 2-year spell at Leicester Tigers there, and I'd say he probably regrets that, because I remember Sexton, when he went away for 1 year and came back, he was thinking, and he even came out and said it, that he'd wish he'd stayed for the full time in Leinster. And I'd say maybe, thinking now, Leo Cullen might have wanted the same. But of course, he returned in 2007 and he captained from 2008 after Brian Riddle had stepped down. He had 3 Heineken Cup titles as captain. He had in 2009, 2011 and 2012. He was also the first player to captain the team to 3 European Cup wins. So he was fantastic. I was only a little lad, I suppose, when I was watching him play, and he probably wouldn't have been the most, sought after player, and for a young lad, a huge lanky player who was, he was tough, but obviously he wasn't the likes of Brian Driscoll and all those boys, but huge for him there. He also had 32 Ireland caps from 2002 to 2011, so he captained Ireland at the 2011 Rugby World Cup as well. A fantastic player, and never mind that, but moving on to his head coach there as Leinster, he's originally the forwards coach under Matt O'Connor, if you remember, from July 2014. Then he got appointed head coach there in August 2015. At the time, it was a Pro 12. He got coach of the year there in 2018. URC got coach of the year in 2022. 2018 was he was the first person to win the European Cup as a player and then also as a head coach. That's crazy. Racing 92 beating Bilbao, which we thought maybe going back to Bilbao would have been our year for that, and would have been very poetic if we did it. But he's also had 4 domestic league titles as a coach. He had the Pro 14 there, 2018, 2019 and 2020. And then obviously in the URC's 2025 and 2026 back to back. So that's fantastic. And that is not 4, that is 6. Should actually count these things. But obviously, 7 major trophies there in 11 seasons as well. So fantastic for him. A lot of Champions Cup final appearances. We won't talk about them. But he nearly had how do I keep bringing that up? Trying to be nice about him and bring up those things. Look, here's a better thing. He survived the Stuart Lancaster departure that time, which was huge at the time. And obviously Stuart Lancaster now is in Connacht, and a lot of lads, I think Frawley is going to Connacht because of Lancaster. So, survived that. And again, I'm going to say it again because it's nice to say it. Back-to-back URC titles. First coach ever to defend the crown in the URC era. So, look, it's sad. I personally think he's a fantastic coach. Yes, there is probably a bit of taste for change, a bit of taste for new blood, but I think it's great that he's after saying, no, I'm going to stay on now, I'm going to honour my contract, because it does give the Irish few time to find someone good. It gives them time to really sit down, get the board together, figure out what's the best approach there for the Leinster coaching in 2027, 2028. Because if he was just to say, right, I'm gone now, we've only one summer before the winter comes in to start that again, and pre-season's obviously going to start way earlier than that. So I think it's good, even the Leo Cullen out fans will actually appreciate the fact that he is going at the end of the next season, but he will be there to help out whoever comes forward as a successor. But yeah, that is the big news today, and yeah, it is what it is, I suppose. Alright folks, that is her back-to-back champions. Just one more time, back-to-back. But if you haven't already, please do follow us on social media, Instagram, Reddit and Blue Sky. And even though it's a while away, I'll say it again, remember that we are back to the Lowe Arena next year. It's RDS, but the Lowe Arena next year, the true home of Leinster Rugby, and I cannot wait to get back into that new arena there. It's going to be absolutely savage. Club season is done. Andy Farrell lads are still in Australia in a fortnight, so we will be covering that as well. So don't worry, I'll be watching and I'll be covering that as well. But as always, thanks for listening.